The morning sun had barely risen when the day that would change everything for Rowan Hale quietly entered his life. He had woken up to the same heaviness he carried every day, overdue bills stacked on the kitchen counter, the hum of an old refrigerator threatening retirement, and the echo of his 9-year-old son's laughter fading in his memory of better times. Rowan had spent years fighting a war against misfortune, but nothing prepared him for the moment he opened his weathered door to find a young girl standing there, dust on her clothes, fear in her eyes, and a silence so loud it seemed to swallow the entire street. In a single instant, without knowing her name or her reason for being there, he felt something shift, as if fate had sent him a message disguised as a stranger. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping someone in need, then take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support keeps these heart-touching stories alive. Rowan's life had not always been this difficult. Years ago, he had been a promising carpenter known for his attention to detail and the creative beauty he brought to ordinary pieces of wood. But life has a way of reshaping even the strongest structures, and Rowan's world collapsed the day his wife, Talia, passed away unexpectedly. Grief turned into a silent companion, and with every bill he couldn't pay and every job that fell through, the cracks in his foundation grew deeper. Still, he held on for one reason: his son, Milo. The boy was the only light that kept him moving, even when everything else seemed to fade. It was mid-morning, the sky washed in soft daytime warmth, when Rowan returned from his shift at the hardware store. His old truck, coughing and rattling like an exhausted beast, rolled to a stop outside his small rented house. The front yard needed mowing, the paint on the walls peeled from years of neglect, and the porch creaked under the weight of time. Rowan had barely stepped out of the vehicle when he saw her, a young girl around 18, standing barefoot on the porch, her long chestnut brown hair tangled slightly as if she had been walking for hours. Her clothes were simple yet clean: light blue jeans, a plain white shirt, and a small backpack slung over her shoulder. He recognized the expression on her face instantly, not because he had seen her before, but because it mirrored the same lost look he had once worn after losing everything. She stood frozen, unsure whether to run or speak, but her eyes held something fragile, something tired, something pleading. Rowan approached cautiously, unsure of what to expect. The girl didn't look dangerous, but she carried an air of mystery, as though she were hiding a story too heavy for her age. When she finally managed to speak, her voice trembled as she explained she had nowhere to go, no one to turn to, and she only needed a place to stay for the night. Rowan hesitated. He had so little himself. But compassion was something he refused to let poverty take from him. The daytime sun slipped through the window as Rowan offered her a seat inside, his home modest, cluttered, and worn yet filled with warmth and sincerity. The girl introduced herself as Aria Wynne, though even her name sounded like an alias trying to carry a truth too big to reveal. She didn't share much, and Rowan didn't press. Every person had a storm they weren't ready to explain. Aria's presence brought an unusual calm into the home. She sat quietly on the couch, resting her backpack beside her like a shield she never put down. Rowan told her she could stay in the small extra room he used for storage. It wasn't much, just a single bed with a thin blanket, but Aria looked at it as if it were a luxury she hadn't seen in a long time. Throughout the day, Rowan found himself wondering who she truly was. She didn't behave like someone used to hardship. Her posture, the quiet grace in her movements, the careful way she spoke, everything about her whispered of a life far different from the one she was showing him. Yet she remained quiet, humble, and incredibly grateful for even the smallest kindness. Milo returned from school and was surprisingly comfortable around her. Children had an uncanny ability to sense who held kindness in their hearts. Aria's smile toward him was soft and genuine, and Milo immediately responded with stories about his day, his toy collection, and the drawings he loved making. Aria listened patiently, her eyes lighting with a warmth that Rowan hadn't expected. As the day passed, Rowan continued to observe her. She kept glancing at her phone, staring at a blank screen as if waiting for a call that would never come. She looked like someone who had been uprooted from a safe, comfortable place and thrown into unfamiliar ground, unsure how to find her footing again. When evening approached, Rowan offered her dinner, a simple meal of rice and vegetables. She accepted with a gratitude that seemed too deep for such a small gesture. Her quiet "thank you" carried the weight of unspoken struggles. Rowan went to his room later that night, but sleep wouldn't come. Something about Arya felt like a puzzle missing half its pieces. Yet he also couldn't shake the strange sense of purpose stirring inside him, as though helping her was a path he was meant to walk. The next morning, Arya woke before sunrise. She stood on the porch, staring at the brightening sky, her expression a mixture of determination and sorrow. Rowan stepped outside, asking if she wanted breakfast, but she shook her head gently. She said she would leave soon, thanking him again for his unexpected kindness. But just as she was about to walk away, a sleek black car turned into the street, its polished surface shining under the crisp daylight. It approached with quiet, controlled speed before stopping right outside Rowan's house. Two men in professional attire stepped out, their presence firm yet respectful. Arya froze. Rowan watched her eyes widen, not with relief, but with fear. The older man greeted her with a tone halfway between stern concern and relief. He addressed her as if she were someone important, someone valued, someone protected. Rowan felt a strange tension in the air, the kind that arrives when truth begins to surface. Arya stepped forward, shoulders trembling, and asked the men to give her a moment. They agreed and waited by the car. She turned back to Rowan, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. She confessed that she wasn't lost, nor broke, nor alone in the world. She came from a wealthy family, extremely wealthy. She was the daughter of Marcus Wynne, a well-known philanthropist and business magnate who owned properties across the country. She had run away the day before after an argument with her father over choices she wanted to make about her future. Rowan felt a shock ripple through him, not because she was rich, but because she had chosen to trust him, a stranger, during one of the most vulnerable moments of her life. Arya continued, explaining she had reached a point where she couldn't bear the pressure of expectations placed on her. She needed space to breathe, to think, to figure out who she was without the weight of her father's name. But she admitted that running away wasn't the answer, and Rowan's kindness helped her see that. She told him she had seen his house by chance while wandering, drawn to the peacefulness of the street, and something about the warm daytime light falling on his porch made her stop there. She said she felt safe in his presence, as if she had finally found someone who wasn't looking at her status, but at her as a human being. Her confession left Rowan speechless. He had spent years believing he had nothing left to offer the world, yet a millionaire's daughter stood before him saying his kindness had helped her more than any wealth could. Arya promised she wouldn't forget what he and Milo had given her, a place to breathe, a moment of peace, and a reminder that good people still existed in the world. She said she wanted to help them too, not out of pity but as a way of honoring the kindness shown to her. But Rowan shook his head gently. He told her he didn't help expecting anything in return. He said true kindness was given freely, not traded. Arya smiled through her tears, touched by his honesty. Before leaving, she asked if she could visit again someday. Rowan nodded, and Milo waved excitedly, telling her she would always be welcome. As the car drove away, Rowan felt a mixture of emotions he couldn't fully name: pride, sadness, hope, and a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that his kindness, even in the smallest form, held the power to touch lives far beyond his understanding. In the weeks that followed, life slowly began to shift. Opportunities started coming Rowan's way again. A neighbor recommended him for a carpentry project that turned into a steady stream of clients. His reputation grew, and soon he found himself working on custom furniture for local stores and families. Milo thrived in school, and the house no longer felt as heavy as before. Then, one bright afternoon, a letter arrived. It was signed by Arya. Inside was a heartfelt message thanking him once again for showing her a form of kindness she had never experienced. She wrote about how their brief encounter changed the way she viewed the world and strengthened her bond with her father.